This is a very good question, JP. Very good question, and it's something that I'm not proud to answer in this manner, but I'm going to do so anyway. Um, my relationship with my parents is something interesting, and it has almost nothing to do with the military. Almost nothing to do with the military. It has to do with a lot of things that I'm struggling with in my childhood, and then as I transition into adult, some things I haven't really addressed, and I really don't want to go into that. Do I want to go into it? All right, whatever. Um, I won't go into it, but I'll answer your question. It's really changed. It's really stayed the same more or less. When you have divorced parents, when you have divorced parents, um, the question I always raised: who do I go see on holidays? Who do I go see before or after a deployment? That question always raised, and it's not something that the parents may have to think about a lot, but it's something the child has to think about: is who do I go see because they live in two different states? I only have a certain amount of time. I only have a certain amount of leave that I can take. Who do I go visit? Who do I want to go visit? And it's a even friends fall in this category. Even brothers and sisters fall in this category of my brother's in the army or my brother's in the Air Force. Sisters just swore into the Air Force. Older sister is a teacher in California. Um, who do I go see? Aunts and uncles almost never make the list. Grandparents just barely made the list when I was PCSing down here. It's an endless struggle of you're in the military, you're constantly moving around, you're constantly a different state. Who do I go give my time to? Because you want to give it to everyone equally, but also you need some time for yourself, especially pre or post deployment. You need some time to kind of digest change, adaptation, what have you. And so my relationship with my parents hasn't really changed from my point of view. I would guess that from their point of view, I'm probably more distant. I'm probably less communicative, mainly because my dad was in the army, so a lot of things that probably should be asking him about, in a lot of cases that I don't. And it's nothing. I have no beef with my parents whatsoever. I have zero beef with my parents about their divorce, about the way I was raised. I'm grateful, and I was talking to a friend earlier before I got on stream, and she mentioned how my parents are a major factor in how I've kind of turned out in my life, and she's 100% right. The way I've turned out is 1000% due to the way I was raised by my parents. They raised me in a certain way to value certain things, to seek wisdom, to make certain decisions. That's due to the way my parents raised. Also to the luxury of having my father in the house when the typical black man is not raised with a father in the house. That's a luxury. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. So a lot of that has to do with how I've turned out. And so as I evolve in my military career, and just in age in general, nothing much has changed outside of distance, outside of kind of growing into my role as a man living in 2021 and understanding that it's my job to go build something, to go eat. If I want to eat, I got to go kill something. Got to get out the mud. That's facts. My decisions fall on my doorstep. I pay my own bills. That's the point of adulthood, is to be mature, to seek out what you need over what you want consistently. So I I consider myself in a category that it's really hard to change, but I don't see myself as a good son as it relates to how much I communicate with them. I must do better. But even while saying it, I cringe at the thought of where do I start. One thing I miss most, and I posted this once on Twitter. One thing I miss most pre-divorce about my parents is that how difficult would it be to get both my parents in the same room and have a conversation with both my parents as their son? Because during the divorce, I wasn't divorced from them. They were divorced from each other. But in my mind, they're both my parents. My dad's remarried. My mom's unmarried. So I found myself in a position like, if I wanted to have a conversation with my parents, how difficult would that be to get both of them in the same room, just not as married couple, but as my parents? That's probably the biggest issue I have with the divorce, is the fact that the children are just kind of left in limbo. And as much as I love both of them equally, I love both of them. I have no beef with them. They made adult decisions about their relationship. That's their relationship. But I'm still a result of that. And so when I think of my parents, I think of these two people in my mind who are still married. Even as a 28-year-old, I'm thinking these two people are my parents, but to each other, they're divorced. And so, yeah, that's probably the biggest dilemma I deal with as a 28-year-old black man serving in the military, is my parents are kind of distanced, not only physically, but emotionally as well as a result of divorce. It's why I put so much emphasis in studying relationship and knowing that when I enter something, I'm not doing it twice. I jokingly post a tweet this morning about, I've been a staff sergeant for almost a year now, a little over a year now. It's about time I got divorced. Come on, bruh. You missing it, bruh. You should have been divorced at least once by now. What's the hold up? Pick somebody and just get it over with. Grab some lawyers, grab a prenup, or whatever you got to do. But you should have had a divorce by now, bruh. Come on, 28 years old. Why are you not divorced yet? Satire, of course. But it's something I think about is in terms of family planning is why it doesn't happen more. Why are we so surprised constantly when someone gets pregnant? Notice how nobody, very rarely, I'll say that because there's some people that struggle to get pregnant. So of course they're planning to get pregnant. But in a lot of cases, most people are surprised. Oops, calendar, some off, some not adding up, some late, some missing, some. It's always a surprise. It's mostly a surprise. That's the last thing I want for my life is to be surprised by something so major as bringing a human into the world. And so, I know there's a long tangent, but yeah, as it relates to your question, it's very multi-layered. It's a huge onion that needs to be unpeeled, and it's something I have to address in my own life, my personal life. But it's something that doesn't get talked about often. Is the distance of serving in the military and being distanced from your family, and honestly, it's a bridge that's hard to kind of build from that distance. It's something that has to be addressed.